What's up, everybody? Hey, Dan Toman here. So, when we start to look at the cyclical nature of our industry, and we all know it has its ups and downs, sometimes a lot more often than we might expect in one way or the other, which can be a great thing or a not so good thing. So, when we think about heading into maybe a quieter period if we're a seasonal property, or if not so much a seasonal property, we definitely have those ups and downs. So when we start to think about heading into that quieter period of the year, sometimes much quieter, we start to think about the obvious things, bringing in more revenue, affecting our top line. We also start to think about things like maybe supplies we have on hand, those consumable supplies that can be victim to spoilage, things like that, that we need to get rid of, that we're not going to be able to move through quick enough. We also usually think about labor. Let's face it, labor is our biggest controllable expense. You know, when we think about labor, we can start to think about normally we consider, gosh, I don't have enough staff, which unfortunately is a problem we run into a lot. But we normally think about it when we're heading into those peak seasons, the busy times. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? You know, we don't often, so much often, think about staffing in the shorter times. We think about how am I going to control it? But, you know, victim of maybe young management, there's some things that we can do to kind of stave off having issues that could adversely affect our team members when we go into off season. And folks, it really comes down to planning. And like I said earlier, sometimes a young manager can fall victim to this. We get so focused on tunnel vision and what is staring us right in the face today or tomorrow that sometimes we don't think about what we can do for the future, how far out we really need to think for the fire that's right in front of us. All right. So a lot of this does come down to labor, is what I'm going to talk about on this particular recording. You know, when we're dealing with the hiring process, you're still going to oftentimes be hiring sometimes when you're heading into quieter periods where you might be thinking, gosh, I'm going to need to be cutting labor. I'm overstaffed. How am I going to handle this? There's things we can do in the hiring process to really help this along and also help to ease the pain for our team members. All right. We set ourselves up for success or failure a lot of the time. It's not always indicative of our environment. So here's the deal. During that hiring process, I always found it very beneficial to be extremely transparent with team members, especially if I'm hiring them as full-time. All right. If folks haven't worked in this industry before, or not for a very many years or through full cycles such as a full year or multiple years, they may not know exactly how it tends to work. All right. You can hire team members as full-time, but there can be points throughout the year where unfortunately they may not get their full-time hours, or it might be extremely difficult to get them to full-time hours. All right. So here's the deal. It's always easiest if you're transparent during the hiring process. You may be getting hired as a front office agent, but you know, during that hiring process, if you reiterate to folks, we do have cross-training opportunities throughout the year that are going to present themselves. We strongly encourage our team members to take advantage of any cross-training opportunities possible. You know, that's going to help you when the downtime does come to be able to spread the wealth a little bit throughout everybody. And then if you do have positions come open, it's not going to be scrambling, oh my gosh, I don't want to hire anybody, but I have to hire somebody because I need to get the position filled, but what am I going to do? If you've planned, and in your busy periods, any moment possible when you've been able to fit it in to a little cushion in your numbers, if you're able to plan and work on cross-training team members, regardless of what department, they're going to be easier to farm out those open positions in the quiet periods When you really don't want to hire people, you still need to get your full-time team members their hours, but it's not going to be that, gosh, how am I going to train them? I don't have the money to train them. I can't afford to cross-train people. I don't have the luxury of that right now. If you take care of it when you've got just little cushions here and there, cross-training, when you do get to that quiet period, it's all going to be done. And chances are you may be able to stave off hiring, filling positions, some positions, when you really don't have the business to support the payroll to start out with, if you can utilize your current team members, all right? Keeps your full-time team members getting hours. One, they continue to broaden their skill set. They learn more about the property as a whole, which is always a good thing. Knowledge is power, let's face it. And they're going to feel more engaged in the team. They're going to meet new team members in other departments. They're going to learn new skills, like I said. So here's the deal. Transparency when hiring. You know, this is also going to help to fight off turnover a little bit. If you've hired a full-time team member and then a month, 2 months down the road comes and you're cutting their hours and you can't give them their hours, what are the chances they're going to stick around? All right, they expected full-time hours and now you're not giving them their hours they expected. Transparency is always very important. You know what? It may have someone not be interested in taking the role, but guess what? You will have wasted training hours to start out with. You will have a frustrated team member that's going to end up jumping ship anyways. So we need to be very transparent and real with people on how our industry works, okay? Flexibility is so valuable in this industry and in the cyclical nature of this industry. Okay, so transparency when hiring, trying to mitigate turnover as a result, at least as much as we can. Being transparent with that onboarding process is what I've been talking about. Flexibility in the hiring process. Talking about flexibility with the team members, all right, as we're bringing them on. Preparing them so that when we do get to these quieter periods, it's just not such a shock. All right, another thing that we oftentimes can fall victim to, we talked about planning a moment ago, okay? When you've got a team member that might resign unexpectedly, or you've got spikes in business, or you have someone who's got to take a leave of absence for an illness or for a family member or something like that, and you're left scrambling and you just don't know what to do, you know, we oftentimes think about the fire right in front of us, folks, like I started off the recording talking about. What's happening right in front of me? And is the panic setting in? What am I going to do? I need to hire all these people, okay? That can happen right now when we've got slow periods 60, 90 days out. I need to fill these roles. What am I going to do? Folks, you always need to be thinking about staffing in particular 90 plus days out. Don't forget that it takes time to hire someone, and hiring is very expensive. Training is very expensive. The onboarding process in general is not cheap. So think that 90 days out when you're posting positions, when you might be transferring someone into a new position. We can't be victim to thinking about the fire that's burning right in front of us. That will more often than not set you up for failure down the road. It's our job to plan as leaders. And like I said, a young manager can fall victim to that very quickly. We start to panic, we think about what's happening right now, right today, and we don't see the forest for the trees and think about that 90 days out period, okay? It takes time, especially when we're thinking about front office agents, we're thinking about maintenance team members, things like that, roles like that. That ramp up period takes a long time. And you know what? You have to believe that team members are coming on with the mindset that they're going to work in this job for a while, that they're not taking the job for 30 days, for 60 days, just as a pacifier. You just don't know, and you have to assume the best in people. And most people do take a job with the expectation they're going to be in it for a while. All right? This is going to provide them the wherewithal to pay their bills, to support their family, so on and so forth. And you owe it to them that if we know, or if we haven't thought it through, and in 90 days, 120 days, we're not going to be able to support this new team member, it's just not fair and it's not right. And it's going to be wasted onboarding time, wasted onboarding funds, and set that team member up for not a successful job experience down the road. And we are in the people business, folks, and this comes down to dealing with our guests, internal and external, and we owe it to our team members to present them with a reasonable situation that's going to occur, and then also talking back to cross-training whenever possible to utilize our full-time team members when we hit those short periods, those potential crisis mode periods. Our whole team is more valuable in getting their hours still just as much as we possibly can, and we aren't hiring people, team members, that we can't support, that are going to end up in turnover and frustration anyways. All right? Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.